From Hollywood, it's time now for...
Johnny Dollar.
Bert Major, Masters Insurance and Trust.
Oh, hi, Bert. What's up?
Poor little rich girl in California, straight life policy on her husband, with herself as beneficiary.
A lot of dough, but not too unusual, if you can afford it.
Effective in 2 weeks, and hush-hush, a surprise.
But who'd want to... Why?
Exactly. Nice piece of change for the company in commissions, or for her in payoff, if she's playing that kind of a game.
You talk like you don't know her.
Name only. Deal was arranged pending through her lawyer in Los Angeles. You could be out there in the morning, Johnny.
All right, Bert. Who gives me the fill-in?
Our agent out there, Roger Hackey. He'll meet you at International Airport.
Bob Bailey in the exciting adventures of the man with the action-packed expense account, America's fabulous freelance insurance investigator.
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
And now, Act One of yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
Expense account submitted by Special Investigator Johnny Dollar. To the Home Office, Masters Insurance and Trust Company, Hartford, Connecticut. Following is an account of expenses incurred during my investigation of the poor little rich girl matter. Expense account item 1, $280 round-trip plane ticket and incidentals, including sunglasses, Hartford to Los Angeles. I arrived, rested, ready, and right on schedule. Also on schedule was Roger Hackey, Masters Los Angeles agent, who turned out to be a repressed comedian become insurance salesman.
Yep, I said to myself, that's Johnny Dollar, I said. You are Johnny Dollar, aren't you?
In person, you Roger Hackey? You represented this client yesterday in the signing of an application for a $200,000 straight life insurance policy on her husband.
Yes?
I represent the company.
Everything is in order, is it not?
Insurance is a lot of things, Mr. Collins. A surprise to the insured is one of the things it isn't.
My client is adamant in this respect. Call it a quirk, if you will.
You expect the company to issue a $200,000 policy on a quirk?
Well...
How long have you known Mrs. Durbin?
Since she was born.
Then you know her father?
Knew him. I am his executor.
Uh-huh. Mother?
Also deceased. Both parents died when Cynthia was 17. I was her guardian and have been her legal advisor since she came of age.
Was she well provided for?
Very.
What kind of a man is her husband?
Young, about 30. Tall, good-looking?
No, Mr. Collins, not statistics. Your impressions.
He plays an excellent game of golf. Gets along well with people when he wants to.
But you don't like him, do you?
In this profession, Mr. Dollar, I neither like nor dislike people. I represent them, and that representation is based on fact.
Well, in my profession, we go by feel as well as fact. Well, tell me candidly, Mr. Collins, do you think there's anything strange about this request for insurance on her husband?
As I said, I deal in facts, not feelings. As a client, she sought professional assistance. Ergo, I supplied it.
Where do the Durbins live?
I'd rather
Oh,
not.
now look, I can get it from any society editor in town.
My secretary will give you the information.
All right, thank you. By the way, don't tell Mrs. Durbin or anyone else that we've had this discussion. If you do, there will be no insurance issued. Interference with investigative procedure. Fact, Mr. Collins.
I understand.
Expense account item 3, $2.60, phone call. Then taxi to Roger Hackey's office. A neat one-story building in the Miracle Mile on Wilshire Boulevard. Purpose? To borrow